How big is Sakurai's desk? No, not this desk. This desk from Kirby Air Riders. And I also didn't mean this Sakurai, but this one, Machiko Sakurai, who's been the lead menu designer for a ton of games by the other Sakurai, including Kirby Air Riders. So if you ever wondered why the menus in a lot of Sakurai's games felt familiar, well, she's the exact reason why. And in case you were curious, yes, the two Sakurais are indeed married. Aww. And Kirby Air Rider's menu might just be Machiko Sakurai's magnum opus, as it takes her distinct style and layout, one that arguably began with the original Kirby Air Ride and evolved over the next 20 years, including games like Smash Bros. Brawl, Kid Icarus Uprising, Smash 4, and Ultimate, and infuses it with a distinct new appearance and energy. Which is largely thanks to a heavy dose of skeuomorphism, where nearly everything is meant to represent a real-life object, kinda like iOS used to do before they sadly dropped it, and it makes the entire thing feel playful, tactile, and strangely intuitive. Just consider for a moment how every main option leads to a different and distinct part of the virtual table, which lends the entire menu a unique sense of geography. Also, your cursor's a cute little Kirby figurine. Adorable! Now with all the zipping and zooming around, it got me wondering one thing. How big is this virtual desk actually? After all, we only ever see it in segments, so what does it look like in its true full form? Well, I decided to find out exactly that by putting the entire thing together piece by piece, just to see what this table actually looks like. And I discovered some surprises along the way. But spoiler alert, this is one big desk. Much bigger than the desk I use in real life to make videos like this, which is exactly why AverMedia Streamline Mini Plus is perfect for my setup, because this capture card packs a big punch in a tiny box. It's barely the size of a deck of cards. Yet, you can capture gameplay at 1080p 60 while playing the games in 4K thanks to the HDMI pass-through. And with its ultra-low latency, you won't have to worry about your gameplay skills being compromised while recording or streaming. So I won't have anything to blame when I lose a Mario Kart World. In fact, the Streamline Mini Plus is exactly what I use to capture all the Switch 2 gameplay you're looking at in this video, though it'll work with any system that has an HDMI out. And using it couldn't be simpler, it's literally plug and play. It took me all of 10 seconds to connect to my PC, and OBS recognized it instantly, making it perfect for both more experienced creators as well as beginners looking for their first capture device. It even comes with beginner-friendly software for capturing or streaming if you prefer to use that instead of OBS. You can even add fun little filters like making yourself a cat, or giving yourself a bow, or letting yourself finally grow a full beard. But the absolute best part is the price, because if you order from Amazon before December 23rd, you can get it for $20 off, or just $69 total. Nice! So if you're looking for a great and inexpensive capture card that's also travel friendly, just click on my link in the description below. And with that, let's get back to discussing Sakurai's desk. No, this Sakurai, remember? So thanks to the skeuomorphism design ethos, nearly every part of the menu feels tactile, almost as if you could reach out and touch it, which is instantly made clear with how the various options bounce off the table before settling into place. It's almost as if someone gave up and just dumped a whole bunch of junk onto the table. Yet that junk's final placement couldn't have been more precise, especially as the main options perfectly aligned to the first game's layout from over 20 years ago. So, starting from the main menu, which is cleverly reinforced via a wooden nameplate that clearly denotes its main status, the three primary options come in the form of large colorful cards, which feature rounded corners that feel inviting, and they even spring to life with a simple animation when selected. But there's a fourth option too, Road Trip. Though similar in size, it's shaped a bit differently and is oddly offset from the others, as if there's something unique about this mode in particular. Whereas all the other modes are based around bite-sized fun, this one's a lengthy single-player adventure, and its arrow-based shape immediately suggests forward movement, which is perfect for a mode that's ostensibly all about traveling. And it gets even better when you realize that's not just an arrow-shaped design, it's actually a luggage tag. Brilliant. Similarly, the Daily Events button is actually a button pin, like something you'd clip to your shirt to raise awareness of an event happening soon. You can even briefly see the butterfly clutch on the back of it when it first bounces into place, which is kind of an amazing detail when you consider it's only visible for what, 10 frames? Now whenever you highlight an option, more information is revealed about it through an acrylic desk sign, almost like it's marketing the option to you, just like how the signs are often used in real life. Okay, now as I mentioned earlier, whenever you select one of the main three options, you're whisked away to another part of the desk, as each one has its own submenu, though they all follow a similar design ethos, only now using differently sized cards for each option to denote relative importance, with the generally less used options being smaller. But there is one option among these that's a bit unique to the others, being the one for online matches. Instead of being displayed on a card, it appears on the screen of a smartphone, which instantly communicates that this option is all about connecting with others. Tapping into it even continues the illusion, presenting the entire subset of options as if it were part of an actual Kirby phone. It's kind of amazing. And what's really neat is how it lets you instantly access the online segments of the other modes too, without having to back out and access the other parts of the menu. And here's a fun touch. If you access the option for local play, it even displays the time in the top right corner too, just like a normal smartphone. Now as you explore the variety of menus, you might notice something following you around, as it sneakily slides into the bottom left corner. Yeah, I caught you! Tapping ZL reveals as actually a clipboard that displays your in-game checklist, or essentially your to-do list, which makes a lot of sense to have it clipped to a clipboard. It almost makes it feel like it's your main job here. Now diving deeper into the checklist actually takes you to a different menu entirely, but if you pay attention, it still upholds the spirit of skeuomorphism, as each of the 5 checklists are presented as separate tabs within the folder on the table. Pretty neat! Now here's something really cool, because even though the menu is laid out in a pretty simple fashion, there are some clever details here to help remind you of which mode you're in. And they're so subtle you probably haven't even noticed yourself.
But your brain did.
Take Air Ride for example, the racing mode. There's a piece of paper in the corner with a checkerboard pattern, which echoes the idea of a start or finish line. But it's this next one that's my favorite, being Top Ride, which is a racing mode with the camera positioned far above looking down. Because when you select this option, the camera immediately snaps to a view from above, just like the race itself. It is ridiculously clever. And last but not least, we have City Trial, which prominently features a tabletop radio in the corner, which might seem a bit odd at first, until you remember the frequent news updates that are broadcast throughout each City Trial event. Once again, it's pretty clever when you think about it, just like the entirety of Kirby Air Rider's menu. And speaking of entirety, it's about time for the main event, to find out how big is Sakurai's desk. And I'm popping on screen to walk you through this crazy image I put together, which took well over a day and involves around 30 images taken from the menu itself, as I had to include not just the 4 main menus and sub-menus, but every part of the transition between them, as they each reveal different things depending on where on the table you are. It was a complete nightmare, especially to reconcile different perspectives and different sizes and everything, so keep in mind this is not perfect. Without having in-game access to the model, there's no way to get it perfect, but I think we did pretty well. So let's go and zoom out here, because this is the menu you're familiar with, but if we zoom out, you can see how crazy the thing gets in total. Look at this monstrosity. It is all over the place. It is huge, in fact. So you can see in the top right is the Air Ride mode, just below it is the main menu, to the bottom right is City Trial, and then right next to me is a top right area. And look at the crazy angle it's at. Like, this is wild. That's how much the camera changes when you go to the top right. And you can see just how spread out and how large this table is, though more on that in a few moments here. But while I was putting together this image, which again took forever, what a nightmare that was, I discovered some fun little details that you could only really notice by making such a crazy image like this. So first of all, if we zoom back in on the main menu here, you probably already know that there are some options in the bottom right corner, which you could tell there were tabs before, but now we know what they're tabs of, in that they're connected to this folder of which you can access the different options, which is pretty cool. So there's actually a contextual reason, as expected, for why they exist. On top of that, though, is there's these emblems on them. This one almost looks like a warp star or a vehicle from the game, and then there's another emblem to the bottom right, which I don't know what that is exactly, so if you know, let me know, because I'm curious. Furthermore, if we go to the City Trial section, we can see we get a better look at the radio, as I composited it with the parts we can see during the transition, which is why it's blurred, because the camera is moving during that part. And sure enough, it is indeed, a radio. To the left, we can see a book that exists largely off camera, and even has like a warp star and checkered flags on it. So maybe this is where Kirby reads up on his pro tips in racing. So that's kind of a fun touch. Now to the left of that is something just above the top right section. You can just barely see it from the menu itself, but when we actually catch it during the transition, we can see that there's these square objects up there. I believe they're like folded pieces of paper into a square, but you have a better idea as to what they are, please let me know, because I was racking my brain as to what else they could be. It does seem like there's like an emblem on them in the bottom right. So again, I don't fully know what that is, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Also, did you catch how I have multiple Kirbys like scattered around from just compositing these images together? It reminded me of the classic Nintendo Power guidebooks way back in the day, where they just put screenshots next to each other and you get like Mario in each frame. So I kind of like the unintentional throwback I had. Next, over on the left side here, you can see this strange looking thing. At first I thought it was like a rolled up scroll or something, but I believe it might actually be a pen pouch, based on the fact that we can see a zipper right below it. And there are pens all over the table. I believe there are 3 of them. There's one right here, there's another just below it, and there's a third way off in the corner just on top of a notebook in the Air Ride section. Speaking of numbers, by the way, although there is only one coffee cup here in the middle, there are a ton of potted plants, like a ridiculous amount. There are 9 of them, in fact, in total, scattered all over the place, some of which are pretty much only, can barely be seen as they're cut off for the most part, including one in the top right in the air ride section, another in the top right section down below, and another by the radio right here. So there are 9 potted plants in total, and maybe even more off camera. So there's a lot going on here, as you can clearly tell, including paper scattered all over the place and everything else. So yeah, this is again the table in full, but there is something else I want to address here, and that's the fact that if we assume that the black area also has to be tabled, though we don't see it in the game, well, let's go and fill it in just to give you a rough idea again of how that might look if this were actually a full table. Well, yeah, you can see this is a pretty sizable work area. Like, this is a big place. I don't have any actual real-world dimensions for you that you might be able to estimate it based off the paper if you assume it's 8.5 by 11. What I can tell you, though, is that just one of these menu screens, like the main menu here, is roughly only 1/20th of the entire menu size once you compile it together like this, which is freaking wild to me. Again, this is a massive menu, a massive table space they made just for this menu, and I think that's really cool. So that's pretty much all I got for you, everyone. That's a look at Sakurai's table in full, which is freaking crazy, including all the little details I noticed and the actual menu design itself, which is absolutely brilliant in my opinion. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure to go check out some of the other design-based videos I've made on other games that I like to find out more about the secrets in those games. I'll link to one on the screen right now. So with that, thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.